All right, welcome to the All American Hoops podcast. This is episode 66. I'm Chris Driscoll, joined by my brothers John and Matt Driscoll. Episode 66. I know that Matt wanted to give a shout out to a former Met legend last week. So if Matt, you wanted to go ahead and do that.
What did I say last week? Was it Josh Edgen?
Yes, he's So there are two Mets that I thought of the other day. I think it was actually earlier today. Now that I think about it, that I really don't have any memories with, like whether they're elite moments or elite moments or like very bad moments, but there are two Mets that I have that I'll fondly or always fondly remember of because of how great they were in MLB The Show with me. One of them being Pedro Feliciano, who rest in peace. The other one being Josh Edgen, who I for one season one time, I think he was pretty good overall for me, but one season I was doing a franchise mode and all my pitchers, I didn't turn injuries off at the time, so most of my pitchers were out. So one day I needed Josh Edgen to pitch, so I did sim mode for a lot of this. So Josh Edgen threw like 5 innings scoreless, and then came out at them. I'm like, wow, this guy's a legend. So I don't even know how I didn't even bother to look up his numbers, but yeah. So two other 16s in mind was one of them Andrew Bogut with the Lakers in 2018. The other one, I forgot the guy's name, but it was a Celtic in 2008 who wasn't on the actual team, or he played 20 something games, but he wasn't on the playoff roster, so really didn't get much attention. I forgot his name. I'll look it up during the episode, and I'll look it up in a second. But 66 episodes in, it's crazy, guys. It's been a little over a year now, and we're approaching the 1 year mark on joining Sports Flu Media, so it's very, very cool.
Scott Pollard.
There we go. Yeah, Scott Pollard. Then yeah, the name sounded familiar when I saw it, but once I looked up his game log, I'm like, oh yeah, this guy really wasn't a contributor at all to the team. So, which is more than okay. He got his ring. So excuse me. So we got a big show ahead of us today. Was kind of struggling to last night when I was texting John Matt. I was like, yeah, we'll talk about maybe the All-Star break. We'll talk about we'll talk about looking ahead to the future, and then unfortunately we got the bomb this afternoon that sophomore Victor Wembanyama will be out for the season due to finding a blood clot in his shoulder. I'm not a doctor, so I'm not going to pretend to know what exactly goes on there. But however, they're known to be pretty serious, and I know that some people were saying, "Oh, hopefully this doesn't affect him long term." Maybe this would have affected him long term a long time ago. But hope again, take my opinion with a grain of salt. But I'm hoping with today's medicine that he will be more than fine by next year, and if not, definitely by it'll get better as time progresses. But just want to get that out of the way. But
apparently, a sore Thompson dealt with it his rookie year, a similar issue. I don't know if it was the same location, because obviously you hear blood clot in an NBA player, you think of Chris Bosh, who had it in his lung, so that's why he had to retire earlier than he would have. But apparently, a sore Thompson was dealing with it, dealing with something similar his rookie year, and he's playing very well in his sophomore year. Hopefully, similar to. Hopefully Victor has a similar path.
Based on my limited research, I think blood clots can be depending on where they are, you can take medication that helps dissolve them. Yeah. And I think in serious cases they can do other things, but in the Chris Bosh case, I think that was over 10 years ago, right? And in the lung, I think that's a totally different thing. But we got to hope for the best. I think Wemby is, at least one of, he's not somebody we talk about all the time on here, but you could say he's one of our favorites. Just to appreciate a good young talented player, and I think the theme of this show is young two-way players. He plays elite on both sides of the ball, and we can appreciate that. So, best of wishes to him.
Absolutely. So, and this just spikes up a lot of discussion. One of them being that before he got injured, Wemby was putting together one of the best sophomore seasons of all time. Had I had more time in between, I definitely would have done more research. But obviously, LeBron comes to mind. Obviously, I don't think who else comes, but like a Larry Bird comes to mind because he was elite right away. But Magic Johnson, and obviously Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was one of the best players of all. Entered one of the best players in the league coming in. But based on like everything that I've seen, and based on like what like a lot of the story, what the historians were saying, that this was like looking like a top 3 sophomore season of all time, and yeah, it's just a real bummer that we had to see him go down like this, because it was looking like he was going to make first or second team All NBA, maybe not first team All NBA because it's tough for multiple centers to get on there, and he obviously wouldn't have made it ahead of Jokic and probably not ahead of Kat, to be honest with you. But yeah, like if not second team All NBA, then definitely he would have gotten on. He would have gotten on an All NBA team, regardless of how much his team was winning or not. So I'm just not exactly sure. Yeah, like I'm. Give me 1 second, guys. So I'm definitely thinking that this was the definitely, yeah, like as I said earlier, that this is going to be just a moment of which Wemby comes back, because it was looking like he was like producing at an all-time level for someone his age.
Yeah, and I think I mean, if you guys don't have anything else to say about like the general Wemby thing, I think we could probably transition into the impact on, like you said, Chris, first or second team All NBA, but specifically the decoy race, because he was running away with it for a while, and I think this all but tightens it up. It's going to be very exciting to see, and obviously you don't wish any negative on any player, really, especially when it comes to health. But this with Wemby being out for the year, this really heats up the decoy race. I think right now it's between Jaren Jackson Jr., Evan Mobley are the 2 top guys kind of competing. I think JJJ is the early favorite right now. I can't think of the third, but I wanted to get your guys' thoughts on that.
Yeah, I'm trying to pull up the.
I have a rant about this, but I'd like to talk about I think we should talk about like the top first.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the odds right now. I don't know why DraftKings, no free ads, but DraftKings is I can't find it on there. But I saw a tweet earlier, like you said, Jaren Jackson Jr. is the top, and then Evan Mobley, who, not to pat myself on the back, but I said if Wemby doesn't win it, Evan Mobley should win it. Has the second best odds. I think he's even, and Jaren Jackson Jr. is like minus 120 or something like that.
25. Yeah, looking at FanDuel right now.
Again, no free ads.
For JJJ, 110. This is minus for Evan Mobley. So yeah, it looks like it's between those two. I mean, after that, you get to like plus 1,500 for Dort.
Wow, he's plus 1,500.
Yeah, I think it's a big man's award. It's unfortunate. We've kind of talked about it in the past, but I also wanted to discuss this. Dort, I think, is probably. Drew Holiday's not really in his prime anymore. Marcus Smart's hurt a lot. Dort is probably your best guard defender in the NBA right now. I think that's valid. But Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is number 4 on this list right now.
Saw that.
And my complaint here is, we talk about how big men are favored in the decoy conversation. I get it. The league and everybody values rim protection. It's easy to kind of shoot up the rankings as a big man for decoy, right? I mean, we saw it with Gobert for however many years. Why does that narrative, or why does that feeling stop for Shai Gilgeous, for SGA? SGA is a very good defender as a guard, but why is he kind of above that narrative or above that feeling? I mean, are you trying to tell me that SGA is that much of a better defender than somebody like Jason Tatum? Tatum, who can guard 1 through 5. We've seen him guard 1 through 5 in a finals matchup before, and yet the league, the media, everybody values SGA because he's like the NBA sweetheart or whatever like that. He gets a pass on a lot of things. I mean, again, this rant isn't necessarily to discount SGA as a defender. It's more just the media shifts their feelings based on who they like at the time.
Yeah, I do definitely think it's a more of a name recognition award, sometimes more than like the advanced analytics or like the any defensive analytics. And like you said, Lou Dort is definitely one of the best perimeter defenders in the league. Like you said, Drew Holiday is up there. Also Dyson Daniels on the Hawks is unbelievable at defense too. But I don't think SGA is the second best perimeter defender in the league. And I get the Thunder have one of the best defenses, if not Chris. We were looking at the offenses earlier. They're number one, the Thunder still. Mm-hmm. Yeah, their defense is unbelievable. But
as a team,
I think it's because of their collective unit. Like all five can guard on the floor at a time, and they make you really uncomfortable. A lot of people can switch. But yeah, I'm kind of shocked that SGA is fourth on this list because I do think he's an elite two-way guy, but I think people praise him for being an elite two-way guy because his offense is so good. And usually when you see guys that are averaging 30-something points, like Luka, like Jokic, their defense lacks. I mean, there's obviously some exceptions to that, like SGA, like Tatum, like Giannis. But I would say SGA's offense is way more. Is like he's a way better offensive player than defensive player. I don't know if that's just like a hot take or anything like that, but I thought that was just pretty common knowledge. Like I didn't think he was the fourth best defender or second best perimeter defender in the league.
You could argue that he's the third best defender on his team.
Who do you have? Chat?
So yeah, I definitely agree with that, and I honestly think if everyone's healthy, then he's not the third best. He's definitely fourth or fifth, but it's just one of those things where like I think that he's getting a lot of credit because of his team being injured for a good amount of games. Obviously, Chet's been out for most of the year. iHeart was out for the first few weeks. But that being said, Lou Dort is clearly a better defender than him. J-Dub's very
he's sixth right now in DPOY.
Really?
Odds.
Okay, that's really silly. People like, and I get really annoyed when people talk about how Marcus Smart is the worst defensive player of the year of all time. Because who the hell cares and everything. Like it's not like he beat like someone like so elite. Like if it was like a guy like Tim Duncan, or a couple other guys, but like someone said like, oh, he wasn't even the best defender on his own team. First of all, yes, he was, and now no one's bagging a 9 now that Shea is in the top 5. So yeah, it's just one of those things where he's the media sweetheart now. We'll talk more about the Thunder later and everything regarding that, but I don't know. Like Shea's a great player, and the Thunder are a relatively likable team. So I don't know. Like it's one of those things. It also might just be one of those things where they have the best defense of the league, and their best player hasn't been there the entire year. So like they feel the need to like share the wealth and just add in a couple of Thunder players to put on the ballot. But yeah, to have 3 of the 6 players there, come on.
Well, that's the thing. If you have a guy who's averaging 32, MVP frontrunner, and 3 guys in the top 6 for DPOY, how have you lost games? Right? Yeah. Like it doesn't add up for me. I think it's I think that it's very heavily skewed right now, and I think the media really gives SGA a lot of passes. And again, I can't reiterate this enough. I do think SGA is a terrific player. And I think that he's one of the best players in the league. I just think that the media, fans, Twitter, whatever, they don't keep the same energy for him when it comes down to it.
I think, sorry to say one more thing. I think when you become like SGA has really, become like this superstar. Like he was always a good player, then became a great player. Now he's like a superstar. I think it takes like a year or two before the media like turns their back on you. Cause a lot of people are the media sweetheart, and then like they win or they get, a lot of spotlight, and then the media kind of turns on them. So maybe next year we'll see some more SGA haters.
It's weird because we have criticized Anthony Edwards a few times on this podcast, but I feel like he gets more hate from the media as a 22-year-old than 26-year-old SGA.
Absolutely.
Which is a little unfair. I mean, when you compare Ant and Tatum, it's like, yeah, well, they both get a lot of criticism.
Yeah.
SGA kind of like you're knocking on the door of 27 years old and you haven't been past the second round. And again, I don't think that's a fair criticism for a player who's 26 or 27. But when you use that criticism against players, like you have to keep it across the board.
Yeah, it's just not consistent at all. The media narrative.
We had media members last year saying that Tatum cannot be towards the top of the ladder in the MVP race because he played bad in the 2022 finals, which was 2 years prior. Shai has had one playoff series win as the first option, which granted it is a limited sample size. This is probably his 4th year as the first option because he was on the Clippers for those couple of years as a young guy. Then he was with the Thunder with CP3 in 2020, I think. And then since then, I guess this is his 5th year. So 5 years now, we're looking at Shai being the first option on wait, is this his? Wait, I'm trying. Yeah. Like I do my years right. Yeah. So yeah, the 5th year he has one playoff series win as the first option, and I'm not saying that he doesn't deserve to win MVP. Just because I think that both him and Jokic are having 2 all-time great offensive seasons, but again, keep the same energy, and we just haven't seen that. We did want to talk. We did mention in the agenda that we wanted to bring up the All-Star game, the All-Star game formats. And we don't have to spend a ton of time on that because it's kind of come and gone. We did talk about it a lot on the NBA Max podcast, which will be every Sunday at 10 p.m. now. But yeah, like I'll just rattle off my takes real quick, and then you guys can add on, and then we'll just move on to the next segment. But yeah, just to kind of pair it off what everyone has been saying this week, what everyone's been saying this week. It's just a real shame at the end of the day. The NBA All-Star Game is supposed to be a time where the players come together, and then they show the world what they got. And one of the main arguments that people use for like All-Star voting is that it's for the fans, and I agree with that. Like part of it's for the fans, and and it feels like every single year they slap them, like the league slaps them in the face. This year I don't want to blame the players too much because they worked pretty well for what they were given, but it's the product as a whole was god awful. I was out on Saturday, so I really didn't watch a ton of I didn't watch any of the Saturday events. But that being said, we talked about on NBA Max, like just the whole notion of CP3 and Wemby, just to kind of throwing out the whole skills challenge thing. Talk about an elite PR team in Chris Paul, because some people I think in some ways he's underrated, but in other ways he's he's like another media sweetheart that everyone loves. He's like such a class act, but he's the biggest jerk on the floor whenever he's playing. And then Sunday comes around. 8:20 tip off is supposed to be is supposed to be for the first game, which I'm not expecting it to be 8:20 on the dot. But that being said, you have 3 games lined up. You should try to start on time, but then they pull out Kevin Hart, who's extremely unfunny. I shouldn't say that he's a funny guy, but like it's one of those things where it's just. Like I'm trying to think of the word, like overplayed, I guess is the word I'm trying to think of.
I think unfunny's good.
You think?
Yeah.
So like, I was talking about like my I doubt they're watching this now, but I was literally talking to my 13-year-old students about it, and they said like, there was too much Kevin Hart. He's not really that funny. You're 4'10", and you're like a 4'10" angry guy. That's like prime time making 13-year-olds laugh, and and they couldn't even do that. And the fact that people just want to watch basketball, and then we're getting Kevin Hart and Mr. Beast, which the Mr. Beast event was pretty cool because the kid ended up making the shot. But just the product was just so bad, and it's just really annoying how it's like every single year that we complain about the All-Star game, because there's always something. And it's all valid concerns, because I do think there are some. Obviously, we've talked about it in the show before, where like some people overblow like some of the bad things with the NBA. Like I know some people say that there's too much 3-point shooting in today's game. We disagree with that, but like it's every year that we talk about it. The players need to try hard. The NBA needs to put on a better show. It's every year, and I for one think that it's a lost cause at this point.
Yeah, the All-Star game stinks. It's been awful for like basically the entire time I've watched the league. Like I don't remember ever being excited to. I guess when I was like a kid, I was excited to watch the All-Star game. But Bill Simmons has a very good point where it used to be really, really hard to watch West Coast games or watch
Right.
guys not from your area play basketball. With the creation of League Pass, we're a little spoiled now, where we can watch any team any given night, unless they're on national television, in which we have cable, so we can watch that as well. The format stunk. Adam Silver loves getting his hands on things and trying to change it for the better, and he rarely does he rarely changes it for the better. It was awful. There were so many commercials. I was not even tuned in. I heard Chris, I heard you watching it in the back room, and every 10 seconds there's a commercial or like an ad read off. I don't even know. It was brutal. Do East versus West or do USA versus the world. Hockey did it right this year. They had the Four Nations face off, even though they didn't include Russia. They had, USA, Canada on Saturday. A lot of my friends, very casual hockey fans, including myself, and we all were tuned into it. We all were super excited to watch it because the guys care. They're playing for their country. They had a reason to play. They're not playing G Leaguers in a game to, what was it, 25 or something? And they're not sitting around every 20 minutes. It stunk. The All-Star game stunk.
The fact that you didn't know that it was to 40, that's not against you. That is a knock on the NBA for not being able to advertise their game. They advertise everything else but the actual game and the rules of the game.
I didn't want to watch it because it was so horrible. I didn't want to watch it. It was horrible.
NBA All-Star Weekend for years has just felt like a little bit of basketball and then a ton of inside jokes among celebrities and the elite NBA players. There are millions and millions of people watching this. Why do I give a shit about Kevin Hart or fucking Drewski commenting in the middle of a game?
That was the worst part. Yeah.
And you get these guys who played for 10 minutes or 15 minutes, they get to 40 points. If they lose, they're done. If they win, they have to wait 20 or 30 minutes until they play again. You want to talk about these guys don't want to play hard because they don't want to get hurt. How about you stop having 30 minutes in between games, because that's going to attribute to that hurting. And Matt, I think you touched on it a little bit with USA Canada. Actually, I have the they haven't dropped the puck yet, but I have it on my TV over here. The NBA tries a lot of things. Matt, you said Adam Silver gets his hand in certain things where he should kind of just oversimplify it. I think that every team and every sports team and every commissioner's office should have some regular Joe from Staten Island or wherever to sit in the office and be like, guys, this is a fucking stupid idea. The fans are going to hate this. That's my idea. I think everybody should have because everybody now, all these front offices, all these people who are running teams and running leagues, they're all Harvard MBAs, and they're so out of touch with reality that they don't understand it. Adam Silver doesn't know how normal people watch basketball. They don't know how it's hard to afford cable and also pay however much money for NBA League Pass. These guys don't understand how. So that's my silly idea on the whole thing, is that they should have just a regular Joe who works his 9 to 5 Monday through Friday and then destroys beers on the weekends and that kind of thing. I think it's a stupid idea, but I think it would kind of be smart to have this guy just be you're out of touch with reality. They're going to hate this. Nobody cares what Kevin Hart or this person thinks. But I think all that being said, it comes down to the players caring. Mm-hmm. The reason why USA Canada is awesome is because these guys are willing to literally beat the hell out of each other before the game because they love their country. I'm not sure if that means they should have a USA versus International All-Star game next year. I think that's a cool idea. I don't think people would hate that because there's enough talent on both sides. I think that would be really, really cool. And if you get some of the guys to talk a little smack beforehand, maybe they would give more of a damn. And Adam Silver and the NBA mess this up every single year, and it sucks. But it comes down to the players not caring because they're getting paid so much money. Why would they care?
I do agree with that partially. Sorry, not to cut you off, Chris. That they don't care, but another reason for that is, why would Tatum care to win for Shaq's OG's All-Star game. Like, why would he care about winning for that? You know what I mean? So like it's on like the executives and it's on the players too. You're totally right.
One thing I will say is that coming from one of the 5 people who watched in America who watched the entire all 3 games, is that like the players weren't like going all out like they would in a game, but they were playing pickup basketball they were playing like actual pickup basketball like UT guys in the park. So like it wasn't like anything embarrassing like it has been the past couple of years. But like it became like that when first of all Team USA when the OGs went on a big run. Sorry, when Jason Tatum went on a big run in the championship game. Scored 8 out of the first 11 points and then got snubbed out of MVP, but just because it was still on Steph's home court, which was complete BS. But like afterwards, so after they scored the first 11 points, and we were literally live streaming it as we were me Fluent and Jalen Carter were live streaming it as we were watching it, but which eventually got kicked off on YouTube, which hopefully we don't get kicked off on YouTube just for me mentioning it, but we were watching it, and then like what Tony would do was he would turn on the game while I was on, and then in the commercials he would turn it back off. Like 3 or 4 times he went to go turn it back on. He's like, "Oh, they're still doing this thing!" Like, and like you see Shaq and Kenny in like these stupid outfits, which like that's funny if you want to turn on like a pregame show, like it's inside the NBA. Like like I know that our mom, our mother, like likes watching that because like she'll watch it for like 2 seconds. And people like because it's funny. Like it's funny seeing like a bunch of like guys act like goofballs. But we're trying to watch a basketball game. You do this not at halftime. You do it in the middle of the game. It was the most ridiculous display I've ever seen. So I don't know. And last thing before we move on. But anyone who is saying the solution to this problem is to make the winner of the East versus West get home court advantage in the finals, they are not baseball fans. Anyone who watched the All-Star game every single year, which that's exactly what we did. Obviously, I'm sure part of the reason is because it was during the summer that we were more into the baseball All-Star game than the NBA All-Star game. Which, by the way, Sunday night, like the fact that they never changed it to not be Sunday night is ridiculous as well. But yeah, but we would always complain. The American League wins every single year. Every single year they're going to get home field, even if the National League team has the better record. That's exactly what would happen in the East versus West as well. I know that Bill Simmons came up with an okay idea. Like I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if you saw it, Matt, but like it was essentially. Correct me if I'm wrong if I'm saying this, but like there would be like 2 different All-Star games. One of them would be on Saturday nights of like the teams that are not in the top 5 seeds. So it'd be like guys like KD, Curry, I'm trying to think of other like Cade Cunningham, and those guys would be going against the Rising Stars. So like so like they do some incentives. Like it's like again like it's what they try to do this year. They try to give some incentive to like for them to like try hard against the young guys so they don't get embarrassed. And then the second one would be Sunday nights, would be the two top 5 seeds, like of an 8-man rotation, East versus West. Winner gets home court in the finals. So that could be kind of cool because it would be it'd be like all the guys on the best teams in each conference going at it. But at the end of the day, it's go ahead.
I just think they could try 100 different things, and it really just comes down to these guys aren't going to care or try. A majority of them, because there are some there that do.
Majority of them, yeah, like yeah, but I think what Simmons is trying to incentivize here for the Sunday night game is that players would have something to win for. It'd be the top 5 seeds. They want to get home court in the finals. So like that would be the one thing to incentivize. But
I hate that idea though. Why you would one night 5 guys from your team get to determine if you have home court advantage?
And it would be 2 guys from your team at most, actually. Because like Tatum Brown would be.
Okay, that's a good point. Actually, I thought I misunderstood, but still, I think that's even worse because you think about the Celtics last year. Tatum and Brown were all-stars, but like as great as Tatum and Brown are, Drew, Derek, Porzingis, Al, Pritchard, Hauser, they all played a pretty hefty part in them winning the championship. Exactly. And those guys, those 5 guys, are just like left for dead.
Imagine in 2023 the Heat had home court advantage. Like that would just like why would an 8 seed would have home court advantage? That would be
exactly. Stupid. Yeah. So yeah, I appreciate Bill Simmons the guy who probably watches more basketball than anyone in America. Or maybe not now, but definitely in history, like trying to change the game because he's someone that loved the All-Star game a ton growing up. But I genuinely do think it's a lost cause at this point. And I'm usually one to try to solve as many solutions as I can. I'm a teacher, so like I try to be very creative with stuff like this, but I don't think there's any. I genuinely don't think there's any hope in fixing something like this, which is quite unfortunate. So, I don't know.
First live update for a hockey game in podcast history. Canada just scored. They're up 1-0.
Oh, that's a bummer.
Yeah, I'm watching it here. Looks like they cheated, so no worries.
No.
I don't think we should worry. If oh, it's corrupt. They counted it. I think we should all get our money back that we gambled.
I need my.
I'd like all of my $10 returned that I spent on this game.
I spent $75 on a bet. What are you talking about? Like, I like to watch hockey. You know how passionate I am about hockey. So,
one more thing before
go ahead.
The All-Star game, you were one of 3 people watching. I was the second person watching that, and the only reason why was because I started drinking at 1:00 for the St. John's game and continued through the night. That was the only way that it was worth watching.
Yeah, that's very true. This is probably one of like the worst episodes ever because we're depressed about Wemby, we're angry about the All-Star game, and now we're gonna be angry talking about the face of the NBA crap. So I don't want to say worst episode, but it's definitely the most negative episode, I should say. So
mostly negative on this podcast, so it's not much of a difference.
That's fair enough. But anyway, it feels like we talk about this at like once. Not we. The NBA talks about this probably about once a probably like once a year, I want to say. That's okay, John. So probably talks about once a year about how LeBron, KD, and stuff are aging. They need to find a new face of the NBA, and they do. As great as it is that we've been able to like juice to like pull out as much juice as we can with Steph, LeBron, and KD. They're all 3 of them are fantastic for the league. But at the end of the day, the 3 of them are at the back end of their primes. They're most of them are at the back end of the top 10 list. I would say, like LeBron's been playing the best this year. He's probably been playing like close to like the middle of the top 10, probably like in like between like the 6 to 8 range. But yeah, you need to find a new face. So before we get into any of that, I'm just wondering, Matt, do you think the new face, or do you think the new face, if there is a new, first of all, do you think we need a new face, or do you think we're going to be okay with an era of having multiple faces?
I think it's totally fine having an era of multiple faces because I think this generation, it is LeBron. I think the next generation will also have like a certified face as well. And I mean, we're just going to discuss that. But I think it's crazy to say that Steph Curry isn't a face of the NBA or Kevin Durant hasn't been a face of the NBA since the 2010. So I think it is okay to have multiple faces, definitely.
100%. But another thought that I was wondering is, and I know that some people and this and I don't mean to. This isn't meant to be xenophobic at all. Just because it's fantastic that the NBA is getting other countries, like other countries that like other players from other countries are becoming the best players in the league. Obviously, I'm a very patriotic guy, but it will be okay if Victor Wembanyama or even Giannis, like he's a very charismatic guy, like they eventually become like faces. Yeah, Giannis is becoming a little more unrealistic because he's kind of becoming injury prone at this point. But I'm not for or against players like the NBA trying to push for an American face, because at the end of the day, most fans are going to be American. They want to be able to connect with people that are from here. But I don't know your thoughts on that.
I know Stephen A is a big the face of the league can't be an international player, but I think if you look at other sports, like the face of the NHL is Connor McDavid. He's from Canada. I know that's a little different because it's a lot of the guys are international players. But then you look at the MLB, the face of the league is totally Shohei Ohtani. And he needs an interpreter. And maybe the interpreter is used to cover up his gambling problem. But Shohei Ohtani's totally the face of the league, and but baseball, it's Shohei Ohtani's the face, and Aaron Judge is probably the second face.
Yes.
So I think if you do have enough American talent in Ant, in Tatum, in I'm trying to think of who else could be the third American face. Blanking.
Paolo maybe. Probably not Paolo, but he could be one down the line. Yeah.
But then you could do there could be an international face like Wemby. It looks like he's going to be one of the greatest players of all time if he continues. Chris, you said it yourself. This was one of the greatest sophomore years ever. Wemby could be a face. He seems like a pretty normal guy. Giannis is very charismatic. As much as we shit on him a little bit. Excuse my language. Sorry if Chris's students are watching. But then again, I also think that SGA could be a face of the league, and he's an international player too. He's from Canada, so I totally think that international players could be face of the league.
Yeah, I don't really have a problem with an international face of the league at all. I mean, if you have a league, we were just talking about a international versus USA team all-star idea and how awesome it would be. I don't think it's a problem that you have these great players that are relatable from different countries. Well, what's the problem? And it's funny that you see all these talking heads that have an issue with an international player being the face of the NBA, also putting down very viable candidates for a USA-born face of the league.
Very good point.
So I and not for nothing, I know that Jokic goes home for the offseason. I'm sure Giannis does too. SGA probably heads back to Canada. These guys are in the United States for a majority of the year. So what's the problem? They're all American citizens. They all represent America. I don't understand the problem with having an international face of the league. You mentioned it, Matt. There's multiple leagues that have that, and they seem to be doing just fine. And not for nothing, if you have an international player from whatever country, come to the NBA and become that face, you are expanding that market in that country. The NBA is making more money because you have people from France, from Canada, from Greece watching the NBA because of this one player. So I don't understand why that's a problem. But if you're looking for, if it's really, really important to you to have that United States face the league, stop putting down the people that could be that.
Great point, John. That was a phenomenal point.
Absolutely.
Also, what you said about Jokic going to Serbia, Giannis going back to Greece, SGA going to Canada. It's 2025. I know Jokic doesn't have social media, but Giannis and SGA have social media. We hear from these guys all throughout the offseason anyway. I mean, SGA is on Instagram as much as he is on the court. So, he could all these guys could totally be faces of the league.
So now that we've established that it is okay with the with having an international face, let's talk about if we did want an American face. Isn't one of the requirements for being a face of the NBA is playing a ton of basketball games? That's right. So. And playing a ton of basketball games, that doesn't include just staying healthy. It doesn't include not taking games off. It includes playing a lot of games in the playoffs. You know what you have to do to play a lot in the playoffs? You got to win. You know who wins a lot? Jason Tatum wins a lot. He's been to 6 conference finals in 8 years. He's been to he's been to 2 finals. He's won a finals. Not only is Jason Tatum face of the league, he has to be face of the league because if people want to watch basketball late in May and June, Jason Tatum is going to be there. And it'd be one thing if he was if he was someone who's kind of a jerk on the floor and everything. I know that Greg Jennings, who I'm usually a fan of him and his football takes and everything, but he's saying there's not really he's kind of boring about his game. What about his game is boring? He does everything. I understand if you want to call Tim Duncan boring. I disagree just because he's one of the best defensive players of all time. It's one of those things that he doesn't really appeal to the casual fan. Jason Tatum has been 3rd in jersey sales 2 years in a row now. what does that mean that people don't get excited to watch him? They obviously get excited to watch him. He like the kids love him. He works extremely hard. He has zero off the court issues. Literally all he does is play basketball, hang out with his kid, and just do a couple of the Subway commercials. This shouldn't be. Obviously, people call him corny a little bit, which, by the way, corny has become the dumbest insult ever because he's like, if you want to use corny as a non-negotiable for a player becoming the face of the league, why is LeBron been the face of the league? He's the corniest guy of all time.
He's hilarious.
Oh, he is hilarious. I'm not saying otherwise. But
you know what? You know why? Like Jordan, Kobe, LeBron, these guys were considered to be like they got the media pass for being the face of the league. It's because they were assholes. You know, they had a quality about them that they were arrogant, that they were loud, they were obnoxious. And I think LeBron, out of those three, was probably the nicest guy. But you can't tell me that LeBron wasn't kind of a dick sometimes.
He is on the court.
Yeah, and that's fine. You know, like I don't mind that, but like that shouldn't be a prerequisite to be the face of the league. When if you were to build a sports league and you wanted somebody to be the face, wouldn't you want a guy who kind of just like does everything on the basketball court, wins, and then doesn't cause you any problems in the media? Because Jordan had his gambling, Kobe had his thing we're not going to mention on this podcast, and LeBron, let's give it to him. He was a great family man. You know, he stayed loyal to Savannah, allegedly, and he's been a great father. You know, credit to him. I mean, you know, it is what it is. But, like, I don't understand why Tatum, you know, I saw we talked about that tweet that says if, you know, Jason Tatum could be the face of the league if he was like had 70% of the personality Anthony Edwards did. Oh, so if he was like 70% more of an asshole, you would want him to be the face of the league? Why is that a prerequisite to be the face of the league? All this guy does, he's a good person. And you know what? You know what's sad? That doesn't appeal to the NBA community. That should tell you more about the NBA community than it does about Jason Tatum.
I think a big thing, Chris, you mentioned it. He's third in jersey sales. I do know like the media has a massive part in deciding who's the face of the league, but it's kind of like Twitter and sports media isn't the real world.
Yep.
I think the majority of people really like Jason Tatum. I know the Celtics are one of like the most profitable or most highest valued franchise, and they're one of the most hated. Obviously, that comes along with it, but the Greg Jennings take about his game being boring makes zero sense whatsoever. He, like, you know what's boring? Isolation ball. Dribbling the air out of the ball for 10 seconds of possession. The James Harden, the Luka Doncic ISO ball is so boring to me. Playing both sides of the ball, being a complete player. Like, I don't get it. And like I said about how media isn't the real world. You see Stephon Castle has sung his praises to Tatum for the last 2 years. Cooper Flagg's favorite player in the league is Jason Tatum. He's trying to be like him. You said Tatum's third in jersey sales. I think Tatum, I saw this too, that he doesn't have to be the face of the league, and that like with time, like people now are like Tim Duncan, certified top 10 player in the league. Some people argue top 5. I think I have him at 6. When he was playing in the league, like I know I started watching towards like the end of his career, like he was still in his prime, but it was definitely towards the tail end of his career. He was never like, oh, he's the best player in the league by a mile. Like nobody ever thought that. Nobody really viewed him as a face either. But obviously people came to respect him.
It's weird too, because like outside of like SGA and Ant, and I think Tatum actually embodies this a little bit more. He embodies old school basketball more than the other guys in the league. You know, Jokic, Giannis. Like Tatum has a mid-range game. He doesn't spam ISO ball like Luka, but he has an ISO game. You know, you think about like all these things that like the NBA community requires to be a face of the league, and he checks every box except for the one we just talked about, and that's like, you know, being kind of a jerk, and he's just not that. And personally, as a Celtics fan, as an NBA fan, I'd rather him not do that.
Yep. I feel like there was one more thing I wanted to say. Oh yeah, I guess the last thing, because he doesn't have to be the face of the league, but like it's one of those things where like at the end of the day, like the consumer is the media decides who the face of the league is, like who we talk about the most, but like the consumer decides it as well. The consumer like has spoken. They want Jason Tatum to be like a lot of these things. Like obviously, at the end of the day, the Celtics win a lot of games, so Tatum's going to be on national TV more often. People are going to watch him more often and everything. If people don't want to, like, if he's not going to be the face of the league, if he's not going to be like towards the front row and like a lot of the NBA pictures, then so be it. People are going to watch him anyway when he makes the conference finals every year. So. So yes, that's yes. So whether it happens or not, that's gonna be completely fine. Okay, so now that we talked about all that, now we'll get into the fun portion of the show. We're going to talk about the predictions for what's going to happen this year. So I'm going to pull up the standings real quick. I think I'll be able to. Let me just share my screen real quick. So as you can see, oh, not yet. There we go. Okay. So here we have the standings for the East. So the Cavs are currently 5.5 ahead of the Celtics for the first seed. Looking pretty unrealistic that the Celtics could climb up to be the first seed. And it would take the Cavs really falling off, which I don't see happening at this point. After that, it would take the Celtics falling off again. Like 2.5 games isn't that much, but I genuinely would be surprised if the Knicks were able to top the Celtics. But again, crazy things have happened, and then after that is when there is a huge fall off. So, Matt, any takeaways here? Yeah, it could be anyone, not just the teams I just said, by the way.
Something to watch: the 40-20 rule. It looks like the Celtics are going to win tonight. They are up by, I think it was 25 heading into the fourth quarter, 26 heading into the fourth quarter versus the Philadelphia 76ers, who, by the way, it's too late for them. Shut down Joel Embiid, shut down Paul George.
It's
make
the
sure
weirdest.
You got to accept cookies and scroll to see the Sixers on the standings.
Zoom in.
You got to shut it down. Shut it down. Embiid needs surgery this offseason. Get it now.
Why is he playing? Like it's the weirdest thing with Embiid is that I always hear about how serious his injury is and how much he's so hurt and everything. Why isn't he taking care of himself? This has been Embiid's entire career is being injury prone. Like most of that's not a player's fault. I feel like a lot of this is Joel Embiid's fault. He is not taking care of his body whatsoever. He obviously plays too many games. Like in I shouldn't say he plays too many games because he takes a lot of games off. Like not takes a lot of games, but like he does set out a lot. Like when he does, but like I feel like he plays through injuries a lot, which shouldn't be big guy. You shouldn't be doing. And I know he has a history of like people saying in the locker room like, oh, he eats like crap all the time. So I feel bad for Embiid to an extent, but I also feel like, dude, what are you doing?
Yeah, touched on a lot of great points there, Chris. Shut it down. Shut it down. Reggie Miller today at the beginning of the Celtics-Sixers game was like, oh, Sixers only a game and a half out of the play-in. Are you listening to yourself right now?
They're 24 games back of the first seed.
They're a game and a half out of the 10 seed. Shut it down. What are we doing, guys? Another talking point here. Knicks are up by 7 right now. So at halftime, a lot of game left.
Pacers,
so
right?
Bulls.
Are they playing? The Bulls, okay.
Bulls. Let's say that they hold on tonight. So that means they would be 37-18. They play the Cavs tomorrow and then Celtics on Sunday. Little afternoon game. Knicks are getting very close to the 40-20 rule. They have to go 4-2. If they win tonight, they have to go 3-2.
4-1.
Whoa, you're right. Yeah. You're right. 4-1, 3-1 tonight, and have to beat one of the Celtics or Cavs. Realistically, probably. I don't know who they play in the game after the Celtics, but getting a little sketchy for the Knicks here.
Yep.
Also to note, did we talk about Bobby Portis yet? Was that on the agenda? No. Bobby Portis suspended for 25 games. That's a massive blow to the Bucks. They might fall past the.
Are you sure they're not? Are you sure they're not going to get better from Bobby Portis being injured? He stinks. Are you kidding me?
By the way, You see what he got suspended for? A doctor tweeted, he was like, "Yeah, that's like a painkiller, and I don't prescribe it because it's such a weak painkiller." Like,
Adam Silver is a fraud. He's a fraud. He wants to suspend Bobby Portis for taking like a strong Tylenol for 25 games, yet he suspends Miles Bridges. It was like, 30, and then it got reduced to 20 or 10 or whatever like that for beating the piss out of his girlfriend. Jackson Hayes is still playing basketball, and we all saw what he did.
Bobby Portis' teammate.
Throw a stack and suspend these guys for being scumbags, and maybe let's take the brakes off for somebody like Bobby Portis, who took. This isn't a performance-enhancing drug. This is a performance-dehancing drug. It's a painkiller.
Who's also
your play.
You know who's also to blame here? Not to blame, but who's also what the hell are you doing? CJ McCollum, Malcolm Brogdon, and who's the other one? And Grant Williams. So cool. The players can smoke weed now. You didn't think to address performance-enhancing drugs and everything there? This is a historically bad union because you're not even protecting the players from taking Tylenol. This is the most ridiculous thing ever.
By the way, John, you mentioned Jackson Hayes. Bobby Portis' teammate, Kevin Porter Jr., is not suspended. 0 games. What the hell are we doing? Chris, you're totally right. The CBA is a joke. The players can smoke weed now. They were smoking beforehand. You're going to look me in my eyes and tell me that players weren't smoking beforehand?
Nobody was drug testing Kevin Durant in 2011.
No, Kevin Durant just started smoking in 2022, guys. Are you kidding me? What are we doing? So, to get back, Bobby Portis suspended for 25 games. The Bucks' depth stunk with Bobby Portis. It's way worse now. Are the Pistons going to go to the 5 seed? Are the Bucks going to be in the play-in?
Maybe.
By the way, not pointing any fingers. I did not say it. John, you did not say it. Chris, you said it. You said that the Bucks were clearly the second best team in the East.
I did not say
they're going to be in the play-in.
I said clearly the second best before the Knicks traded for Karl-Anthony Towns. I just want to make that clear. Okay. Before the Knicks, yes.
And then when the Knicks traded for Cat, you didn't say the Knicks are the second best team.
No, I did not say that. I did not say that.
This all I need everyone watching to know that Adam Silver needs to be put down.
He's horrible.
This is awful. You have NBA, you have these players beating their girlfriends and wives, and you take 6 months to do an investigation, and then you let them off the hook. But when Bobby Portis takes a strong Tylenol, you suspend him. When somebody bets on the NBA, which I get is worse than taking the Tylenol, it's certainly not it's not on the level of domestic violence, but those things get figured out quickly. He takes 1.5 years to figure out domestic violence, penalties, but he brings the hammer down on these ridiculous, punishments.
Yeah. So, ridiculous. So, a couple of interesting things to think about. I was really hoping the Magic would pick it up eventually. They're not. But yeah, I think that's more of a next year problem. Hopefully Paolo and Wagner will have more time to play better together because it feels like they've taken a step back with their chemistry. And I don't want to say issues because they're just worse last year than they were this year, but I think a lot of that does have to do with injury. So hopefully next year is where they can come back. Miami Heat. What would be hilarious actually is if the Miami Heat ended up beating making it the playoffs and then beating the Cavs in the first round just to show that it's Eric Spoelstra who's the reason for the Miami Heat going on big runs and not Jimmy Butler. That would absolutely be hilarious. It would be hilarious for 5 minutes, but then it wouldn't be hilarious when the Celtics had to play them in the conference finals again. But I digress. After that,
one more thing, Chris. Sorry.
Sure.
The Pacers being the 4th seed is surprising.
Super impressive. Yeah. 30 20. Oh, wow. Yeah, that's 7 games of 500. It's super impressive.
I feel like I forgot they were not struggling at the beginning of the year, but they were, I feel like around the 6 and 7 seed. I know there's not a ton of there's a game difference between the 6th seed now, but them being the 4th seed, very impressive. They have a home playoff series if it ended today.
I have an interesting point of view. Celtics as the 2 seed, they would play the Knicks in the second round, right?
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
Okay, so that's obviously not as ideal as playing the Pacers, right? We can all agree on that.
Probably.
But I will say that in a hypothetical Eastern Conference Finals matchup between the Celtics and the Cavs, I kind of like being the second seed to the Cavs' first seed.
I agree.
I think that the playoff structure is it's structured to benefit the underdog, quote unquote underdog, because all the Celtics have to do is win one of two in Cleveland. I think, this is all just speculation right now, but I think they would absolutely win one of two in Cleveland. Arguably 2 of 2 if they get hot from 3 one night. All it takes is that, right? And then, they're in the driver's seat. I just think it's, we even talked about it last year. Like watching the Celtics in the playoff last year was like stressful because they were always expected to win. Being expected to win sucks. It's not as fun. The reason why that Celtics run in 2018 when they went to the Eastern Conference Finals against LeBron James, it was so much fun because most people expected them to lose to Milwaukee in the first round, and they made it to the Eastern Conference Finals. That's why it was so fun because nobody expected them to win. But last year, everybody expected them to win. I'm not saying in a series between Boston and Cleveland that the expectation is for them to lose, but if you go down 0-2 going back to Boston, series doesn't start until somebody loses at home. So it's interesting, but I think I would rather be the 2 seed in that hypothetical conference finals.
Definitely agree, but however, I do think yes, I do agree that they would pick off at least one of those road games in Cleveland, but I also do think you have to factor in the Celtics are definitely going to lose at least one game at home.
That's what I'm saying. I think they suck at home.
Yes,
I say they suck at home, but they're what? 17-10. It's not exactly like they suck, but they're road dogs, man.
Yeah, that's right for sure. Cool. So we'll go to the West now.
Wow, Wizards are picking it up.
Are they? Hang on.
9 wins, almost double digits, baby.
All right, good for them. All right, so now we got out West. This is a very interesting dynamic. So okay, so obviously the Thunder, the Grizzlies, the Nuggets, the Rockets, Lakers, Clippers, I guess you could say all these teams are locks. The obviously, the Spurs about to shut it down. They're gonna like obviously they're shutting down Wemby. Like, I shouldn't say they're shutting down Wemby. Wemby's done. Curious to see how much to do with Fox now. But pretty safe to say they're out of playoff contention. Matt's Blazers, I don't think they're really prioritizing winning games at this point. Like maybe they'll go for like 2 weeks and then maybe start to ramp it down. But outside of that,
sorry, Chris, go ahead. Outside of that, sorry.
No, I was wrapping it up. So like outside of that, like it's 1 through 11. That's interesting because obviously Phoenix can, if Phoenix can, I don't know, like I don't say what, like Booker and KD can go on deep runs, can go on like a hot nights. They can eventually surpass maybe Golden State or Sacramento, maybe even Dallas at this point. But yeah, like I would say 1 through 7 is locked. But like with Dallas's injuries, I would say 8 through 11 would be an interesting thought. But Matt, what are your thoughts here for the West standings?
So obviously Western standings, everyone and their mother was talking about the Blazers hitting their over-under for the season before the All-Star game. 21.5, never a doubt. They won 9 out of 10 to wrap it up. Truly love my boys. I hope they lose out, and I hope they get Cooper Flag. I love the Blazers forever now.
I like that.
Everyone keeps talking about how the West is so much better than the East, and maybe the talent, like individual players, there are better players in the West than the East. But if I look at the West, true contenders, I would say there are 3. I would say definitely 2, maybe 4, because the Thunder are 1. I would say the Nuggets are a contender. The Grizzlies, they do have a good record, but I'm counting them here, so I'll say 3. I don't see it with the Grizzlies, them winning it this year. I don't think that's a crazy hot take, but they've been impressing me all year. And then I would say the Rockets. I think the Lakers have too many concerns. We've seen it in the very small sample size. I think Luka is just getting used to playing with LeBron and the rest of the guys, and he's coming back from a calf injury. I think they'll be fine, but I don't think this is the roster to do it this year. I think maybe next year or the year after that, they'll be a serious contender, but I don't think it's this year. And then everyone else, like Timberwolves don't have a real number 2. Warriors are too old. The Kings are the Kings. They traded a lot of people. Clippers, their defense is good, but they don't have a real star. So yeah, I think really it's the Thunder and the Nuggets that concern me the most.
Well, Matt, you mentioned that everyone wants to talk about how much stronger the West is than the East. You look up the DraftKings odds right now to win the NBA Finals. 3 out of the 5 teams are in the East. The only contenders right now that are being taken seriously by Vegas are the Thunder and the Nuggets. Other than that, it's the Celtics, the Cavs, and the Knicks. And I want to pose a question, not really a question, but more of a statement to you guys. I think the Grizzlies have kind of flown under the radar for most of this year. Can you imagine if they were getting a 2022, 2021, 2023 Ja with this team right now?
Mm-hmm.
They're a legit team, legit to make the Western Conference Finals. I don't really think that they're going to beat the Thunder. But they're a fun team to watch. But, like I said, I think the whole idea that the Western Conference is so much stronger than the East is kind of overblown. I mean, like, we all like watching the Rockets. We like Sengun. We like Jalen Green. We like Ime Udoka as a coach. Are they really contenders, or is it more just like, you're looking at them with like kitty gloves, right? It's just like you didn't expect them to be this good, and they are, and like it's nice. But like the Lakers, I think are going. You saw it last night with the Lakers. As much as and we talked about it last week. As fun as that team is going to be offensively, teams are going to hunt Luka, and Luka does not have the defense that the Mavs did behind him to protect him. And people didn't realize that. I think we realized that as Celtics fans, that the Mavericks built their team last year, maybe the year before. They had strong guys on the wings. They had strong defenders on the blocks. They built that team to protect Luka as a defender. Mm-hmm. And now he's on an island by himself. Guess what? In a playoff series, LaMelo Ball is going to be the least of your concerns, because there are players much better than him that are going to hunt you down. And you won't be able to hide behind the fact that that's like the Mavericks' defensive plan to let you get blown by on the perimeter every time, because it's not anybody's plan.
Yeah, John, very good point. Killaware offense, they are going to just hunt Luka. I would just like to take this time to do the second hockey live update in podcast history. Brady Tkachuk just tied the game. American Patriot. It's 1-1.
I read on Twitter a bunch of times that Brady Tkachuk is kind of an asshole.
He absolutely is.
Could not care. Simply could not care. I saw that out of the corner of my eye, and I was just like,
Brady Tkachuk, brother of Matthew Tkachuk, who is a classmate of Jason Tatum at Chaminade in St. Louis. So we stand.
Very cool.
Well, I also would like to mention that my bet right now for the USA-Canada game happens to include Team USA money line and great American and Patriot Brock Nelson to score a goal.
Friend of the pod.
Friend of the pod, Brock Nelson. I'm sure he tunes in every week. Good friend of mine. Great Islander player. When me and Matt went to a game about a couple weeks ago, we were sitting 12, 13 rows behind the net. Game went into overtime. Brock messed around I think he missed a couple shots to tie the game. He said, "Relax, guys. I got this." Game went into overtime, and the Islanders were coming towards us, and he sniped an overtime winning goal. He looked at us, and he said, "Guys, I just wanted to extend it so I could score in front of you." So, good friend of mine, Brock Nelson, as you guys know, great American Patriot. He's going to score tonight.
I think we're using friend of the pod a little loosely here, given that the host of the show didn't know who that was until you mentioned that you saw him.
Need to put a little more respect on your fans' names. You don't know John's best friend? Brock Nelson watches every episode. Okay? He nodded at me on an airplane once.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
yeah. Once you mentioned that you saw him on the plane, I'm like, oh yeah, I know that guy. But so
great American, true American patriot.
Yeah, we hooped on the Lakers enough. Which team do you think has the best shot to beat the Thunder?
The Celtics.
In the West.
In the West?
Yeah, in the West.
The Grizzlies.
I think the Rockets match up the best with the Thunder. They play the same kind of hectic defensive style.
Right.
Oh, I don't know about that, actually.
They can't score.
Yeah, they can't score. And they have Steven Adams, and
so yeah, because like he's like I want to put my hater hat on and say like there's a ward where they lose in the second round, but like I just can't find it. Like the only thing I can see maybe is if again like I'm not going to fall for it this time around because like it's not going to be the 5th year in a row that I say maybe playoff Kawhi can be healthy again. That is the if Kawhi Leonard like made a deal with the devil somehow and said, "Let me be healthy for one more playoff run."
That would not matter. It wouldn't matter.
Well, they have the second best defense in the league, including the Thunder, and you could debate as to whether Kawhi Leonard could be the best player on the court in a playoff series between those two teams. If
Kawhi Leonard is 900 years old,
and he's still playing,
Powell is not putting up the same production with a healthy Kawhi Leonard. He turns into a different player. I don't see a world where the Clippers are beating the Thunder because Kawhi decides to show up for work a couple days in a row.
Chris, what was the last year when Kawhi Leonard ended the season healthy?
2020.
And what did he do that year?
Through in lead.
Yeah.
It's also 6 out of the last 8 years, not in the last 4 years. 6 out of the last 8 years, he wasn't able to finish with his team. So, No, I'm nitpicking here because I don't think the Grizzlies. I don't think there's a world where the Grizzlies can beat the Thunder. Like they have a great defensive team. Jaren Jackson Jr. Would be the best defensive player in that series. But then again, the Thunder are kind of reminding me of like defensively. They're reminding me of the Wolves last year where they had two. They had two bigs, and I don't know. I don't know who the third center is if they have one. Like I don't know who their Naz Reid would be. They probably don't even. I guess they wouldn't even have one. But I don't know. Yeah, like I guess I would say the Nuggets would probably have the best shot at beating them. But then again, Jokic struggles when he has to go up against 2 or 3 centers. So at the end of the day, like you just have to count on the fact. One thing I saw a tweet that said like J-Dub when Shea's off the court, the Thunder are only at a +1. So so that could be one thing that could like limit the Thunder in the playoffs. I think that I think that the Celtics are a clear better team than the Thunder. Like obviously not better in the regular season, but like looking at both teams, they're just Celtics are just so much more well-rounded. Like the Thunder are a well-rounded team as well, not an offense so much. Like I think it's mostly Shea that's carrying the load on offense, and I don't know how sustainable that's going to be in the playoffs. In the playoffs. Okay.
By the way, another update: Jason Tatum had a triple-double tonight.
Is the game over or no?
Yeah.
Oh, it's over. Oh, 30. Mm-hmm. Okay. Oh,
Tatum had 28.
Wow. Okay.
So Chris,
so we'll do.
Can you? So they just won their 40th game. 40th.
They just won their 40th game.
So 40-20 rule.
That's right.
Would you like to apologize about freaking out about the 40-20 rule?
I'm all the way back in.
Do we know what the date was that Chris?
That Chris backed out in the Celtics and said they're not going to win the finals. No, that date doesn't exist actually. So no, we don't know the date on that one.
Sorry, I think he meant the date
Chris,
where you said.
If you let me finish, Chris, I literally said, "Do you know the date where Chris freaked out?" That's what I said.
Okay. Well, there's 2 dates that I freaked out. None of them were on this podcast, but so
wrong.
I didn't freak out on this podcast. I'm freak out. I just listed my concerns, and you guys very rudely ripped me apart. But
correctly ripped you apart.
Okay, it was rude as well. 2 things to be true. So
rude.
So
maybe one of us was rude.
I don't know.
Yeah, Chris.
Okay.
So what? Today's the 20th. So when were you freaking out? Like January 9th?
Probably it was the day they lost to the Kings without Fox, and the day that they lost to the Rockets. Yeah, I didn't freak out when they got killed by the Lakers. I didn't get freak out when Drew Holiday lost to the single-handedly lost to the Hawks. They weren't playing good basketball, and I think I was bringing up very valid concerns, but they've been playing awesome basketball lately, and hopefully that continues, and I think it will. Okay, so now we got the next part of the night, the last part of the night, I should say. So here is the remaining strength schedule according to Tankathon, which I don't know how legit this website is. I think there is a type of formula. The Los Angeles Lakers have the toughest schedule the rest of the season. This wasn't the case last night. Last night it was the Suns. I guess the Lakers probably, a couple teams won to where it was affected, but the Lakers currently have the hardest schedule remaining, and they're currently the 5 seed. Who knows what happens? But is there? Yeah, like I know we already talked about the standings, but is there any teams that stand out to you as to how this can change things?
I mean, the Suns are the 11th seed right now. They're screwed.
Yep.
I don't think they're a true contender, but
they have to play the Thunder, they have to play the Cavs, they have to play the Celtics twice, the Knicks, the Grizzlies, and the Nuggets. So let's see. So 2, 4, 5, 7, 8. 8 of those games. I think they win maybe 3 of those games.
And by the way, why are the Blazers under easiest opponents? Do they not realize they covered 21.5 before the All-Star break? People are forgetting.
I don't know. Yeah, so the Clippers have a hard schedule. The Bucks, the Bucks are screwed. 7th hardest schedule. The Knicks are an interesting team. Yeah. Then we go to the easiest schedules. Toronto, Washington. We don't care about those. Celtics have out of the contenders. The Celtics have the easy schedule. So, Minnesota. Oh wait, they're not contenders because they stink.
Good call.
Yeah.
Where's the Thunder on this list?
Thunder are 13th, I believe. So straight
middle of the pack.
So they have the Celtics, the Grizzlies twice, the Nuggets twice, Rockets twice, Lakers twice, Clippers once. So
one Lakers list on their toughest opponents.
I think it's top 6 in each conference probably. Although the Thunder, I don't know what the Grizzlies would be.
The Thunder are going to put up 9,000 points against the Lakers in those 2 games.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Matt, it's very interesting how you didn't say.
Where are the Nets?
The Nets. The Nets are. Wait, where are the Nets? I just zoomed over them. Where 14th. Okay, so all right.
I was going to say it'd be so funny if the Nets rip off a winning streak for Liam.
That's. I think that's what's going to happen. Honestly, they have nothing to gain, nothing to lose. Like maybe they're going to lose a couple. Maybe, obviously, they want to get the draft pick. I feel like that's a lost cause at this point, though. But yeah, I think they'd have to lose every single game in order for them to be in contention for that. I want to go back to the Grizzlies, not the Grizzlies, the Timberwolves, who currently have one of the easy schedules. So maybe they can go on an interesting run. But Matt, I think it's interesting how you say that they don't have a second option. I'm trying to think if I'm trying to think if I want to make a Rudy Gobert elite joke or if I want to make a Julius Randle crap on joke, because apparently that's gonna uncheck the entire year long for whatever reason.
Who, Julius Randle?
Yes.
Yeah, he's having a real tough year because he has immobile, horrible offensive force clogging up the paint.
Didn't we say that the Bucks roster isn't as the Bucks roster stinks? So you're not going to give Damian Lillard that same pass?
The Bucks roster stinks, and the Timberwolves roster construction is horrible as well.
Correct.
They don't have a real number one.
One of them is clearly having a much better season than the other.
Yeah, the soon to be playing Bucks, the second option on that team, is having a better year than the playing.
And it's not even close.
Yeah, I would say it's not close.
Yeah, thank you.
What's the argument here?
The fact also, one of them has been the number one option for multiple games this year because the number one option of Giannis can't stay on the floor while Anthony Edwards plays almost every game.
That's another guy. Where's the energy for him?
I don't know.
Mr. First round exit.
How many times has he? It's been since the 2021 season. So So 4 years. Yeah. So it's at least 1 year he missed the playoffs though. So yeah, it's maybe 1 year first round exit, the other year they made the conference finals. But yeah, we know that's not going to happen this year. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah. The Wolves are a better team than the record indicates. At least that's what I think. But I don't. I don't trust them at all. Like obviously, yeah. As much as I'm a bigger fan of Gobert than I don't say bigger fan, but like as much as I defend Gobert than anyone. Like he does have his limitations in the playoffs. So does Julius Randle, honestly. And
what's Gobert's limitation on the playoffs? I would say 67% of the game.
The fact that he can't catch the ball.
Yeah, the entirety of offense and then perimeter defense as well.
Why is Gobert the only player that gets criticized for his lack of perimeter defense? Because last I checked, that most centers
defensive players of the year.
We also criticize many players for their
if you're going to win
centers.
If you're going to win DPOY, you have to.
Besides Anthony Davis, besides Anthony Davis and Ben Adebayo, who
they haven't won DPOY.
I'm also just saying that those players are criticized less because they can contribute a little bit on offense. Rudy Gobert is one of the. I'm not saying they should get more slander than Gobert. I'm not saying that, but like besides those two guys, who else is bad on is like that bad on perimeter defense? Which Gobert's average.
Guy who has won DPOY who is as bad on the perimeter as Gobert.
I don't know. I don't think that really matters because the reason that the Wolves, the reason that the Utah Jazz with Donovan Mitchell, which God bless Donovan Mitchell, with Donovan Mitchell, with Bojan Bogdanovic, Mike Conley were an elite defense was because of Rudy Gobert. The reason that
I don't want to come out and say like I don't think Rudy Gobert is an elite rim protector or an elite defender, but I just think you just skip over his massive limitations, and he's a main reason why he hasn't made the Western Conference Finals since being with Donovan Mitchell.
Right? He won DPOY 3 times, right?
4, yeah.
4 times. And you don't want us to hold him to a standard above somebody who hasn't won it once?
Sure. But
people
only
talk
thing
about
is
him and his perimeter limitations because he's won this award so many times and he still sucks on the perimeter. And on offense.
He doesn't suck on the perimeter. He's average on the perimeter. He's just not as good. I don't think he's
not good on the perimeter. He's 7 foot. He's 7 foot.
Average. Okay. He's average. Yeah, it's okay. So why are we? I think he's average.
Based on what?
Why does he suck? Based on what?
Because he gets cooked every time he's on the perimeter.
He doesn't get cooked every time. He does not get cooked every time.
He gets hunted to be on the perimeter. He gets hunted.
He won his 4 DPOYs because
they drag him out of the paint because that's his biggest asset is being down in the paint.
That's how he won his DPOYs.
Right.
Yes, and the reason he sucks on the perimeter.
I don't think he sucks. I think he's average, but I can't believe we're having a Rudy Gobert discussion when the Wolves are the 10th seed. But
somebody call me Foreman. Get him on the line.
We have gone like 100 different directions this episode.
It's
no, and I've had like 4 different rants.
Well, no, because I sent a voice memo.
Violence.
Oh, yeah. Funny thing is, the guy who's coming on the show next week has a conspiracy theory about LeBron James and his wife, and I was going to say maybe don't say that on the podcast, but then just for you to come on and say that is very funny.
I said allegedly.
Yeah. So, what was it? I was gonna. Oh yeah, but the next thing I was gonna say was we've gone on many different tangents. Is that I sent a voice memo to my girlfriend Olivia today, and multiple times I switched topics, and then she said, "First of all, you have ADHD." So I think that's it's been the case for me for sure, but I definitely think it's passing on to the podcast as well. So that's something that we love to see. Okay, but
hold on, I'm just watching Rudy Gobert getting his ankles cooked for 5 minutes.
By Steph Curry, by Luka Doncic, by some of the best guards in the league. Why did Anthony Davis not get slandered for Jamal Murray hitting the buzzer beater?
Best guards in the league. The next guy's Devin Booker.
Why did Anthony Davis not get slandered, Chris? Because he's a much more versatile defender.
Oh, he is. Okay. So why did Jamal Murray hit the shot in his face then?
What?
Why? Okay, so Rudy Gobert got slandered a ton last year for getting his ankles crossed by Luka Doncic. Why didn't Anthony Davis get cooked by Jamal Murray when he hit the buzzer beater over him?
I didn't bring that up once.
I did just now.
But you were bringing that up, not me.
The Luka thing we did not bring up.
Okay, Chris, who do you want on the perimeter in a last-second shot, Anthony Davis or Rudy Gobert?
Well, clearly both of them aren't that good at it because both of them let up big shots.
Answer the question, All-American Hooper. Answer it.
Was it? Was it?
Answer the question.
Who
do you want, Anthony Davis or Rudy Gobert? Put your reputation on the line right now because we all know what the answer is.
Rudy Gobert can still be an average defender if you say Anthony Davis here. An average perimeter defender if you say Anthony Davis here.
I mean, I said earlier that it was Anthony Davis, but however, both of them have lit up big shots in the past. Anthony Davis lit up a buzzer beater.
Chris, nobody but you brought up the one shot that Rudy Gobert let up in the playoffs last year.
It's brought up all the time. What are you talking about?
Nobody here brought that up besides you.
Okay, you're talking about who he gets cooked all the time, and I'm bringing up the one. I'm bringing up one of the only times that's like the reason that he got cooked. That got cooked.
No, I just think he gets cooked all the time. I didn't bring up that one time.
I don't think it's all the time.
Good defenders in the league who have gotten a buzzer
also,
beater before.
Also, kind of about Rudy Gobert's defense, but not about the perimeter. A reason the Mavs beat the Timberwolves last year was because of the lob threat that Jason Tatum, a 6'8" forward, took away.
That is true.
Rudy Gobert did not take that away.
Yeah, that's true.
He had a bad series. I mean, like, we're holding it against him. But.
Yeah, he had a bad series. Yeah. I never said otherwise. But like, I also think that like, it's not like because like, has he really ever been like, besides last year, which no one entering last year really thought that the Wolves were going to be like a conference finals team. But besides last year, like the Jazz were never really expected to go that far. Like, obviously they were the first seed in 2021, but like I'll go to the grave thing in this. Like I don't think that the Jazz were like constructed well enough to where I know I'm biased because I'm Donovan Mitchell. You know, I'm a huge fan of him. Rudy Gobert. Like I've depended. You guys talking to me in the chat because based on what I can't be. I'm on 1% now, so I can't look at these damn messages. But you lost my train of thought. But like, but fuck you guys. Hang on.
It's not even that bad. It's just Liam's text. It's the most simple bait. Like, we haven't even said anything terrible. It's just Liam.
Fuck you, Liam. Yeah, you said P4, but we need to have Liam back on the show eventually. Because
it's a Squan boy.
We should.
Not you, Matt McCann, you Brielle son of a bitch.
Yeah. Yeah. Liam's from Spring Lake, by the way.
Phone lines again.
Yeah, we do have to open the phone line again. We should do that soon.
Yeah.
We'll do that again soon.
John Cassidy off. That guy loves the yap.
Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking about it because like I know like they said we want to do like an NFL draft special, which I'm not opposed to, but like we just have to do it on a different day. Like I'm not going to do like a primetime game. Like I'm not going to do a primetime thing in April for during the NBA playoffs for the NFL drafts. But yeah, maybe we'll do something about that. But yeah, we'll do something with that eventually. Anyway, we're 23 minutes over. But luckily that part of the day, that part of the show is over now. So, or we got no one on after us. But all right, this has been a John Matt. Thanks for coming on. This has been another episode of the All American Hoops podcast. Be sure to follow me on all social media platforms. All American Hooper. Go ahead, Matt.
Before you get into it, I just want to say my chair was broken this entire podcast, and I fought through it. This is what I do for the viewers.
Why is it broken? The white one's broken?
Yeah, I broke it last episode, and I just
okay.
About it.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay. I have to pee again. I've been fighting for that.
All right. Sorry. Go ahead.
It's okay. So yeah, follow me on all social media platforms. All American Hooper and all of them. I would say Twitter is more so American Hooper, and then Chris Driscoll NBA is my other one. Is my actual name. So also I mentioned it briefly earlier. Make sure to catch me on Sunday nights with Sports Fluence, or be from Hoop Social, and Jalen Carter. Not Jalen Carter, the football player, by the way. He's a content creator. I had a friend of mine text me when I made the announcement on Instagram. Like, wait, is it Jalen? No, it's not Jalen Carter, the football player. That'd be pretty cool, though. Yeah, catch us on Sunday nights. We're doing NBA Max. We're super psyched about the new show. But I think that's all I got for now. John, Matt, again, thanks for coming on. But until then, keep grinding and stay hooping. Have a good night, everyone.
Okay. Put on a suit, drink water, don't drink and drive. Hey, man, call your mother.
It means nothing. It means nothing.
No, they lying to you. It's about the money.
Now you're more fluent.